Hi friends, Mr. Sandite Mentor here in Sector 6, 6th grade centers in Sandite land. We are working on decimals over here in Sector 6, and they're giving people a lot of problems. And so what I would like to do is maybe do 2 or 3 videos and maybe just label them all things decimal, starting from the basic concepts to the difficult concepts. And you may have a difficult time reading this, but you may not have realized it, but since you've been working with numbers, you've been dealing with whole numbers. Whole numbers are the numbers that are to the left of a decimal. And believe it or not, all numbers have decimals, but if you don't see it, it's just assumed that the decimal's at the end. So if you just see like the number 20 and there's not a decimal or anything, just mentally just put a decimal at the end, because 20 representing a whole number, that's where the decimal is going to be. So here we have a chart. I don't know if you can zoom into this or whatever. I'm kind of limited on what I can do. But to the left of the decimal, you start off in the ones place, and it goes to the tens, the hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. You can carry it on beyond that to millions if you want to. And those are the numbers you've been dealing with since you've been learning to count. No big deal. Now, here's what's throwing people off. When we start dealing to the right of the decimal, we're dealing with a fraction of a whole number. It's not really a whole number, it's a part of a whole number. The first place would be the tenths place, the hundredths place, and something that you're going to find.
Haley Ray Monday, please come to the 6th grade office. Haley Ray Monday, please come to the 6th grade office.
Sorry about that, guys. But we're here at school and we have to deal with what we have to deal with. But you'll notice anything to the right of the decimal is going to end in THS. And it's going to start with the tenths, not one, but the tenths. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000s, 100,000s, millionths. So that kind of gives you an idea of where those numbers lie as far as, in relationship with one another. And some of the things that I've been noticing that are causing people to get the problems wrong, other than not turning in your work. And one thing that I found, the reason why they're not turning in work is because I think they're embarrassed that they don't know how to spell the word of their numbers, like 12, for instance. If you don't know how to spell the word, don't worry about it. Just do the best you can. You'll be corrected and you'll learn from it, or you'll eventually get to it. Don't worry about it. Just do your best. When it gets to the right side of the decimal and you're ending up with like ends in THS, it's just the same word with THS. Tenths is 10, T-E-N, and THS put after it. So not a big deal. What I'm trying to say is, if you don't know how to spell the word, do the best you can and put down something, and the teacher will correct you, and that's okay. That's what they're there to do, is to teach or to correct. And don't take it personal or anything. It's all a part of learning. Another thing that I've noticed too, and it's not necessarily with decimals, but it's with anything in general dealing with math, is I am amazed at how many people are afraid to ask their teacher for help. Friends, that's what the teachers are there for, is to offer help. So excuse me, by all means, don't be afraid to go to your teacher for help. Not only does that help you, but it also helps the teacher know that if you're having a problem, well, guess what? Somebody else may be having a problem too. So we're working with decimals. What else can we do with decimals? Well, we can write them in word form, and that's one thing that is throwing people off because they don't know how to spell the word. If we're in standard form, if we have 2.3, the point meaning the decimal, it could be considered point, decimal. Later on, we'll consider it the word and. So if we want to do that in word form, it would just be 2, TWO, and where we see the decimal, just insert the word and, AND, and then the word 3, THREE, and then we notice that the 3 is in the tenths place. So it'd be 2 and 3. This is going to be really tight. TENTHS. The word 10 with the letters THS after it, okay? So that's pretty much how to do it in word form. Not a big deal, but it's throwing some people off, okay? So 32.501, 32.501, okay? So 32, you just spell it out, 30, THIRTY, 2, TWO, and then the word and, 501, and notice how the 1, it's in the tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So 501 thousandths. Just spell thousand, THOUSAND, and then put THS under it. And that's how you would write it in a word form. So standard form, you just use the numbers. Word form, you have to spell it out. Expanded form, this is where people's heads start to explode. Okay? So don't worry about it. You'll get it. It just takes some practice. Okay? So let's do something real quick. Let's do 15. There's 15. And I'm going to put a decimal right there.
Austin Brown, please come to the 6th grade office. Austin Brown.
I'm sorry about that, guys. That's going to happen probably more than once. Okay, so we're going to put this in expanded form. Okay, so notice, let's look at our places. There's the ones place. There's the tens place. On the right side of the decimal, starting with 10, that's the tenths place. Remember, anything right side of the decimal is going to end in THS. So here we go. Let's put this in expanded form. We have a 1, so we're going to put down 1, and we're going to multiply the position that it's in. It's in the tens place, right? So it's 1 times 10, and we're going to put that in parentheses. We're going to add that to a 5. Let's write down the 5 times what place is it in? It's in the ones place. So it'd be 5 times 1. So, and then we put a plus. And here we're on the right side of the decimal. So this one's going to be the fraction part of it. Okay? So it's going to be a decimal. So let's put our number down. The number's 1 times what place is it in? It's in the tenths place. So it would just be times 0.1. Okay? So, and of course that would have the parentheses around it. Okay? So this is 15.501. .1 or 15 1/10, put down an expanded form. Okay? Let's do another one. Let's do 8. Okay? And means a decimal. 400ths. Okay? And all I'm going to do is make sure that that 4 is in the hundredths place, and that means that I'll need a 0 in the tenths place. Tenths, hundredths. Make sure that 4 is in the hundredths place. So I'm going to write down the number 8 in the expanded form. What place is it in? It's in the ones place. 8 times 1, parentheses, plus the 0, right? Write down the number 0. And what place is it in? Times. It's in the first place on the right side of the decimal. So do a .1 to represent that first place on the right side of the decimal. Plus the number 4. So put down the number 4 times what place is it on the right side of the decimal? 2 places over. So do a .01 to make sure that it gets over and that second place from the decimal is represented. Okay? Makes sense? Clear as mud? I know it kind of gets confusing. That's why it takes lots of practice. Let's do another one for this video. Let's see, we're 11 minutes in. Let's do a long one real quick and call this one good. So let's do 72, and I hope you can find there. There's the and or the decimal. And 16 tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Okay? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Remember, anything to the right ends in THS. So here we go. Let's write it out in expanded form. So we're dealing with the number 7. Write down a 7. What place is it in? Ones place, tens place. So it'll be 7 times 10. Put it in parentheses. Plus the number 2. What place is it in? It's in the ones place. So it'll be 2 times 1. Put it in parentheses. Plus, here comes the and. So we're going to have to start dealing with decimals. What number are we dealing with? Dealing with the number 0 times what place is it in? It's in the first place to the right of the decimal times .1 in parentheses plus, it's going to get small. Let's write down this number 1 since we're dealing with it next, times what space is it in? It's in the second spot behind the decimal. Okay, so it'll be times .01 in parentheses, and then we add, and I'm just going to kind of bring this up over here. The 6 is next, so that would be 6. Remember, we're bringing this up, times what space is it in? It's 1, 2, 3 spaces over from the decimal. So it'd be decimal 0 for one space, 0 for second space, 1 for the third space. And of course that's going to be in parentheses. So all this is just practice upon practice upon practice, and it's just working with the decimals. To kind of summarize some of the things that's really bothering me and bothering a lot of people, they're not turning in papers because they don't know how to spell the word. Learn how to spell the word, do the best you can. Don't keep it from turning the paper in. The teacher will correct you. No big deal. They're glad to do it. That's their job. They wouldn't be in it if they didn't want to do that, okay? They want you to learn. The second thing is that anything to the right is going to end in THS, okay? Mr. Smith Sandike Mentor, I'm going to check out from Sector 6. Everything's going good here. We're learning every day and doing our best. So I'm hoping you're doing your best. Turn your work in. Don't accept zeros on any of your papers. Anything's better than a zero. I hope you have a great day and look forward to a second video because I think that this subject deserves a little more explanation. So have a great day. We'll talk to you soon and see you at school.